it is my delight to introduce Reverend Vera McNally, and she is going to talk about Be the Love You Want to See. Reverend Vera.
I think, yeah, I'm on. I'm here. Pretty loud. All right, well, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Tress, for that. That was beautiful. All right, look at all you beautiful souls coming out here on this wonderful, wonderful day. Still camping weather. But I decided I'd take time off and come visit all you beautiful people. So let's just pause together and consciously arrive here at this moment. As we breathe, let us turn our attention inward, not away from the world, but into a deeper awareness of spirit that lives within us and expresses as us. I invite you now to gently close your eyes and bring your attention inward as we begin with the spiritual treatment. There is one life, one presence, one infinite love that is God. This present is here, now, and everywhere present in each and every one of us. I recognize that we live and move and have our being within this love. It is the very essence of who we are, whole, creative, and good. Today I affirm open hearts, receptive minds, and a shared willingness to remember our true nature. I know that Spirit moves freely in this space, guiding each word spoken and each truth received. I declare that love is the tone of gathering and the power behind all that unfolds here today. What is spoken is planted in consciousness and expressed in living. I release these words into the law, knowing that it is now done. I accept this for myself as I accept this for each and every one of you here, and together we say, and so it is. Wow, love is a spiritual principle. Isn't that remarkable? So simple, so simple. Love is such a simple word, but it's so complicated in many ways. I'm not talking about the love outside. I'm talking about the love that goes inside here, inside your heart. So this is a familiar phrase shared in many spiritual circles, and it is, be the love you wish to see. It's definitely a spiritual principle. And in Science of Mind, we understand that our consciousness plays a huge role in our lives. What we embody inwardly, we express outwardly. Ernest Holmes reminds us, we are not victims of the world we see, but victors through the power of our vision. So it's what we see, what we feel inside. We become victorious, not victims of what the world is, what's going on in the world today. I mean, when we look everywhere, there's a lot of stuff going on. So how do we react to that? How do we feel about that? As long as you stay and grounded in love, in your heart, all that out there doesn't really matter. It can affect us, but it doesn't really matter once we step back inside and really know the truth of who we are. So when we speak of being in love, we are not talking about changing others or the world. We are talking about turning our awareness to the frequency of spirit and inner harmony. Because love, as we understand it, is one of the fundamental qualities of spirit itself. In the Buddha tradition, they teach that true love, metta, or loving kindness, is universal, unconditional, and free from attachment, focusing on wishing happiness for all things without expectation, differing from selfish desire or possession, love that causes suffering. So possessiveness and selfish love causes suffering. This practice involves cultivating compassion, calmness, and appreciative joy, extending kindness to loved ones, enemies, and all creatures, ultimately leading to liberation and inner peace. That's the Buddhist tradition. So metta. But isn't that very similar to Science of Mind? It's exactly the same as Science of Mind. That's the beauty about. We fit into many, many different cultures with their thought and their philosophy. So love is the nature of God. Scripture tells us plainly in 1 John 4:16, God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. This is not poetry alone, it's totally metaphysics. If God is love and we are expressions of God, then love is not something we generate. It is something we express. Jesus embodied this truth fully. He did not teach love as a theory. He demonstrated love as law in action. When Jesus said in Luke 17:21, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was pointing us inward to the source from which love naturally flows. So when Jesus, if you've read, of course we never physically saw him, unfortunately, but when you actually read what is written in the scriptures, you'll see that he went out and just was loved. He was just love. Everybody just loved to draw to him. They also wanted him to heal them, of course, but what did he say? Heal yourself. Because he was telling you, you have the power within you, within your heart, through love, that you can heal yourself. You can heal any issue that's going on in your life, especially emotional issues. And those are the tough ones, the emotional issues, because you can't see those, but you can feel them. Can you feel when you're sad? Can you feel when you're happy? Yeah. So that's what he's telling us. You can heal that. So being love is an inside job. Be the love we wish to see means we begin within. We notice our inner conversations. How do we talk to ourselves? What do we say to ourselves? How many times have we said, "Oh man, if I could lose 50 pounds, I'd have it fit in that beautiful red dress that I've been hanging in my closet since I was 16 because I wore it back then"? No. Give that dress to somebody else. Let them enjoy it and go buy a new one so you can enjoy a new dress. We observe our judgments, especially the quiet ones. Do we judge ourselves? I think every day we judge ourselves somewhere along the road. We always think, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. But when you return to love, we are just love. And we are good enough because we're here. We're doing what we need to do, just as we are. We become aware where we are withholding compassion for ourselves. And when we do that, we withhold compassion for others as well. Because the first place love must live inside in our own consciousness. Ralph Waldo Emerson views love as transformative, divine force that evolves the soul, urging individuals to give all to love and obey their heart, even if it means letting go of worldly things. He sees it as a spiritual journey awakening us to our inner selves and connecting us to humanity, but also stresses the need for courage and freedom with love, recognizing that the true connection transcends the personal to find a greater divine purpose. And one of the hardest things that you can do is give away your personal prized possessions. I remember when I was deciding that I was going to live in my van, and I had a beautiful little apartment, and it was full of books and clothes and dishes and pots and pans, you name it. It was complete. And I made the decision that I was going to get rid of everything. And of course, everybody thought I was dumb. You're stupid. What if it doesn't work out? What are you going to do then? I said, well, the stores has lots of pots and pans, and so does the thrift stores, and you can go on Marketplace and get whatever you want, right? Anyway, so I proceeded going on doing that, getting rid of everything. I got rid of clothes. I got rid of truckloads of stuff. And then the big stuff I couldn't take, I went to my grandkids and said, okay, come take what you want. And I literally left with what would fit in my van. My books I did store because I'm sorry to say I'm a bookaholic. And so I didn't get rid of my books. I stored those at my kids' place. I kept a bed and a dresser for just in case I might have to find a room somewhere to sleep in. And that was it. And people were like, at your age, you're going to do what? And I said, well, I love myself enough to go on this adventure. And what's the worst that could happen? I break down in a new town and find some new friends. Or I make my trip, then I come back home and be with old friends and make new friends too. So really, do what you love, what feels good inside your heart. And that's called loving yourself. Didn't matter what people said. I mean, I could have panicked and said, well, yeah, you're right. Like, what happens if it happens? Then I never would have went on this most amazing adventure in the last 5 years, truly. So, Jesus taught, love your neighbor as yourself. He says in 12:31. This teaching presumes something important, that we are willing to include ourselves in love. In Science of Mind, we know that what we consistently think, feel, and believe becomes the pattern through which life responds. So when you choose love inwardly, the law responds outwardly. Love is not dependent on mood or personality or agreement. Love is spiritual practice. Love looks like compassion instead of reactivity, presence instead of decisiveness, truth spoken with kindness, boundaries held with grace. Jesus said in John 13:35, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." And what he was talking about here is, well, you know, when you get a bunch of people in the room and they come really close, think about your siblings if you have any, and how you all agree to just love each other unconditionally, and then all of a sudden you're playing a card game and somebody's losing and it's a poor loser, and all of a sudden the love has kind of gone out the window. And then we all think, But what Jesus is saying is when you show that you love one another at all given times, then love is there. It overcomes everything. So that's why he chose these 12 people. And they weren't always very loving, as we know what happened with Judas, right? So notice that he did not say to correct theology or certainty. He says, love. Just love, simply love. And the center of spiritual living here, we might say, love is the evidence of spiritual understanding. But let's be honest. What about those moments that love feels challenging? When we are tired, how loving are we then? When the cat claws the furniture, it's like, out the door. But we still love them because they come back and cuddle. So what about when we feel misunderstood? Or when the world feels divided or heavy? Being loved does not mean denying our humanity. It means including in compassion. So this couple of past days, I was out camping. And so it was wonderful. And thank you, ladies, for joining me. It was absolutely super. We're going to do it again. And so we had a great time. And I'd hiked around the lake and had fires and wiener roasts and had people come out and visit. And it was absolutely remarkable. Well, Friday morning, I decided, it's time to clean up and it's time to head home. And so I'm getting everything cleaned up, and there was only one other camper that was there, a young family. And so I'm trying to be quiet. I'm still having my coffee and my fires. I'm cleaning up my campsite. And I decided I'm better start my car and my van and get going. Well, guess what? The van didn't start. So I thought, this is not good. I have appointments I have to get to. So what's the worst that could happen? Well, I have enough food. I could stay a couple more days. I still have wood left, so I could, I'll be fine. I also have a saw, so if I have to go cut down wood, I could do that. So I'm sitting there thinking, and I was starting to get frustrated because I'm thinking, why would my van not start? So I thought, I better phone AMA. So I dial up AMA and get that going. And then I heard the couple next door, they were up, and I thought, I wonder if he has booster cables. So I take a deep breath, because AMA said it could be 3 to 4 hours. I thought, no, I'm going to miss my appointment. So I took a couple deep breaths and just sent out love. Just say, okay, just send out love. I walked over to the young man and said, excuse me, would you have any booster cables? And he says, yeah, I do. So he brings us, I said, because my battery's dead. So he goes and gets the booster cables. He comes over and goes to use them, and they don't work because they're broken. So he says, you know what? I think I might have another set. So he boogies over to his place and gets another set, and sure enough, he gets it started, but he cleans my battery off. Somehow the post came loose, and there was grease on the battery. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know how these things happen. I would just think that it should just stay clean all the time, because what the heck, right? But it doesn't. Trust me, it doesn't. So he cleaned off the thing, and he put the thing on the battery, on the posts, and those, whatever you do. And so we got to talking, and he has a remarkable story, him and his family, and it just filled my heart with love. And he was coming down from Jasper, and he's the one that showed up at 3:30 in the morning, woke me up, and I thought it was somebody coming from work or coming from a party. I thought, oh no, it's going to be a party next door, but it wasn't. And his vehicle had broken down on the highway. And so he kind of limped himself way back to the campsite. And he said that they were moving from Jasper and they were moving down here, but they couldn't find a place to rent that was reasonable because it cost them more money in the move. So they're staying there. And he said, it's just wonderful. He said, my kids can play outside. And he said, they can yell and holler because there's not many people here. And he said, it's amazing. And he said, my wife is such a remarkable woman. He said, I go to work up in Jasper. I'm gone for a week or sometimes 2 weeks at a time. And she's here with those kids by herself. He said, I couldn't have asked for a better wife. My heart filled up even more with love. I'm thinking, wow. And they're just a young couple. So anyway, we finally got my van started and going. And so I went to pay him, and he said, oh, you don't have to do that. And I said, no, I really don't, but I said, I want to. I said, could you please accept this gift? So I gave him some money, and I said, I have firewood here, too, if you'd like. I said, I don't want to haul it all the way back out and take it out of my van. So I said, would you like that? And I had some jugs of water left over, and I'm thinking, okay, the less I have to unload when I get home, the better for me, right? So he accepted that with grace. And as he was going, he was greasy, of course, and as he was heading out, and he says, can I shake your hand? And I said, can I give you a hug? And he was speechless. He didn't know what to say. And I said, really, I don't bite, and I'm really harmless. I said, I'm just a little old lady that had a broken down van. And so, of course, we laughed. And he accepted my hug. And he said, you know what? He said, not many people would do that. He said, not many people would do that. They'd say thank you, and they'd be off their way. He said, I'll remember this moment for a long time. Long time. A lot of love shared. So then I get home. Got to go sign up on my computer because I had to print some documents, and guess what? My laptop's not working. I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? This is kind of mechanical stuff going on. So I'm sitting there looking at this laptop, and I'm thinking, oh, please, I don't want to spend the money on a new laptop. Really? So anyway, I take a deep breath, and everybody knows we're in the middle of renovating. So, of course, in my office, there's everything everywhere. It's just a chaotic mess. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to go to Best Buy. Got to get this done. But I have to help with the renovations because now I got to empty my office because they were doing my office the last. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm just going to send love to my laptop. I'm just going to send love, just love this thing. It's probably missing me because I've been gone for 3 days, you know. So anyway, so after we get everything done, I go to turn the laptop on, and it's still, nope, not working. So I went to Best Buy, talking to the young fellow there, and he said, what's wrong? I said, it's not working. I said, that's why I'm here. I said, I need this laptop. So he said, well, he said, just to let you know, he said, it's going to cost, he said, money because you don't have a membership. I said, okay, so what do you think it's going to cost? He said, well, it could cost anywhere from $60 to $300, $400, or $1,000 if you buy a new laptop. I think there, okay. That's not doable. Let's just send out love, send out love. He said, I've got a solution for you. And I said, well, you're going to fix my laptop? And he said, yeah. He said, but if you buy a membership for $20.99, he said, that's all it's going to cost you. Thank you. So I bought the membership, and he checked the laptop off. Somehow it was a new program that with your updates on, I don't know if anybody knows laptops, there was an update. Anyway, it's a bug in the update. So it wasn't anything I did wrong. And so anyway, so that happened. So for $20.99, and I sat and chatted with the young fellow and stuff, and thanked him very much for only cost me $20.99. I like that. And it works wonderful now. And he did all the updates and everything else. And he said, and by the way, with this membership, if something happens and you're at home, he said, you just have to pick up the phone. He said, because we can log into it because you have a membership number with your membership number. He said, we can log in and fix it while you're sitting at home. Bonus. Sign me up. I have a life membership. But so there you go. So just having that experience and those two things, and nothing else has happened so far. Everything worked perfectly after that. Even the renovations went very well. We're all done now. Yes. So sometimes it means extending kindness inward before offering it outward. So I just sat and loved myself instead of getting frustrated. I just sat there and just breathe love and just send it out from your heart. Just send it out. Just send it out. The universe is going to take care of you, and that's exactly what happened. Spirit took care of me. So Jesus reminds us, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. That was in Matthew 5:7. So mercy is love in action, when somebody deserves punishment and receives compassion instead. That's what mercy is. As its heart, mercy says, I see your humanity more than I see your mistake. Spiritually speaking, mercy isn't weakness. It's a powerful expression of consciousness. It's the moment we choose healing over harm, understanding over judgment, and connection over separation. In many wise traditions, mercy flows from the awareness that we are all learning, we're growing, and we're waking up. When we offer mercy, we recognize the divine spirit in another, even when their behavior misses the mark. So if we can see when somebody makes, especially our children, we expect them to be perfect. We expect you drop something, you pick it up. You take your dish to the sink, right? And sometimes we get upset if we're tired. So if we show them mercy, because they may be tired, or they may be waiting to go play their video game somewhere, so they're just in a hurry and they forget about picking up what they dropped, or they forget about moving their dish into the dishwasher and stuff. So showing kindness and showing some mercy, and just say, oh, by the way, can you pick that up? Instead of yelling at them, right? Unless you're trying to strengthen your voice. No, don't yell at your kids. So mercy shifts energy. Judgment tightens. Mercy softens us, and its softness is where the transformation happens. You could think of it like this. Justice says you should get what you deserve. Mercy says you get what will help you heal. I'm going to repeat that. It says you should get what you deserve. That's justice. But mercy says you get what will help you heal. And here's the wild part. When we practice mercy towards others, we almost always start extending it to ourselves as well. It becomes a doorway to inner peace. Love is creative. Love is magical. It is magnetic. Love multiplies itself through expression. When we embody love, we shift the field of consciousness around us. We become an invitation. We become a living demonstration. Ernest Holmes writes, when you embody, you attract. What you embody, you attract. And when we love, we do not have to convince. We just simply radiate. Walk into a store and just from your heart, just radiate this beautiful purple love light and see what happens. You literally will have people turn around. Walk into a store where angry and scowly. People will look at you, but they're going to go that way. They're not going to hang around. They're not going to be around that person. But radiate love, and you'll find they'll all attract around you. And it's that simple. Not that hard to do. Louise Hayes taught that love, especially self-love, is the core of healing and happiness, emphasizing it starts with accepting yourself, using affirmations like, I love you, in the mirror to heal your inner child. Don't you just love that mirror work? No? I know it's hard. And recognize that what you give out comes back multiplied, leading to healthier relationships and a more joyful life. She stresses that love isn't a desperate need, but a choice and an infinite resource that flows from within, filling life when you choose it. And in closing, I'd love to read this poem called As I Begin to Love Myself by Charlie Chaplin. As I begin to love myself, I find that anguish and emotional suffering are only warning signs that I was living against my own truth. Today, I know this is authenticity. As I begin to love myself, I understood how much it can offend somebody as I try to force my desires on this person, even though I knew the time was not right and the person was not ready for it. And even though this person was me, today I call it respect. As I begin to love myself, I stopped craving for a different life, and I could see that everything that surrounded me was inviting me to grow. Today I call it maturity. As I begin to love myself, I understand that at any circumstance, I may be in the right place at the right time, and everything happens at exactly the right moment, so I could be calm. Today, I call it self-confidence. As I begin to love myself, I quit stealing my own time, and I stopped designing huge projects for the future. Today, I only do what brings the joy and happiness, things I love to do, and to make my heart cheer. And I do them in my own way, in my own rhythm. And today, I call it simplicity. As I begin to love myself, I freed myself of anything that is no good for my health, food, people, things, situations, and everything that drew me down and away from myself. At first, I called this attitude a healthy egoism. Today, I know it is love of self. As I begin to love myself, I quit trying to always be right, and ever since I was wrong less of the time. Today, I discovered that it is modesty. As I begin to love myself, I refuse to go on living in the past and worry about the future. Now I only live in the moment where everything is happening. Today, I live every day, day by day, and I call it fulfillment. As I begin to love myself, I recognize that my mind can disturb me, and it can make me sick. But as I connect it to my heart, my mind become a valuable ally. Today, I call this connection wisdom of the heart. We no longer need to fear arguments, confrontations, or any kinds of problems with ourselves or others. Even stars collide, and out of their crashing, new worlds are born. Today, I know this is life. So in closing, I invite you today to remember that love is who you are. Love is the nature of life itself. Love is already seeking expression through you today and always, and so it is.